Welcome to the business special. Today we're going to focus on business elements, and thank you very much for being here. As it started all with a question about what's your problem with businesses meeting together at a business retreat at a hotel and spa, where we worked very hard on problems, solutions, and all sorts of different aspects of business running and how we can actually make it better, how we can improve it, how we can keep moving forward. So just to quickly review, the most common problems that we were discussing were around time management in regards to businesses, in regards to our daily time management, weekly, monthly, quarterly, our planning around that, feeling of overwhelm, procrastination of the things that we don't want to do, and the discipline, the challenges of disciplining ourselves to get everything done using management systems, growing the business, planning. All sorts of problems came around those, and we did come up with various different solutions. A lot of it was around scheduling and how to plan things, how to get things done on time, how to get motivated to get things done on time. We talked a lot about new processes that we can basically implement to replace old processes or lack of processes. We talked a lot about accountability. This is where someone helps you actually get things done. So to strengthen the discipline and to avoid procrastination, make sure that things are sorted, make sure your clients are taken care of, your potential staff members, and all the other participants that rely on your business, that they can still rely on you. We talked a lot about offering, and a lot of the questions with businesses that I speak to are around pricing. So what should be your pricing point? How do you increase? How do you make special offers? And a lot of it was around, maybe you don't have to change your pricing. Maybe you have to change what is it that you're actually offering within that price, and then create extra products, create a whole bunch of video courses, create all sorts of things that are going to be added value. And along those lines of the offering, we looked at replacement. So what can we replace certain things with? And I'm a very big advocate of, if something doesn't work, try something else, replace it with something else. If it still doesn't work, replace it again. And basically this, a lot of the conversation was about new skills. It was about how do we actually get things done and still have the time to implement new skills, still have the time to actually learn something that we wanted to learn for a long time that would be useful to our business, but we do not have simply the time for. So we talked a lot about how we can implement those new skills and how to actually get it done. I wanted to tell you today about these various different business elements. There's 8 core business elements that I have on this particular list, and I would like to go through these with you just to see if there's anything that you want to start changing in your business, anything that you want to start doing differently. If you're working for someone else or if you're running your own business, just have a look at these, go through a checklist in your own mind, make a couple of notes of things that maybe you still need to look into, and see if you could actually apply those previous solutions we just talked about into any particular area of these. Now, one thing at the very beginning, and my colleague Dwayne is going to agree with this, is the accounting. It's all about know your numbers. That is the basics. That is the first thing, an absolute must. So have a look at your KPIs, at your accounting plans, your capital allowances, your taxes. We just talked about that as well. Your pricing, your basically monthly products, your income, your regular income, and things that you basically have already set up, whether you are delegating, whether you're doing things on your own, or you have a team behind you, or you have you're outsourcing it, whatever it is, however you're doing it. Is there anyone else that you should speak to? Is there anyone else that you could reach out to learn a little bit more about the systems that are out there, so that you can make things quicker and more efficient and better? make them work for you. The second area was team and business development. So basically, as you are growing or as you are representing your business, whether you have a team or not, whether you're working as a part of a team, please always sit down and think, what are your top 3 to 5 values? What are the most important things for you? What are basically the top ones that whenever you speak to someone, if they ask you, so what are the most important things to you, you basically have that answer ready. A lot of companies benefit from having those top values, for example, in an email signature or printed out on the wall in the office so that everyone can see what the top values of the business are. So don't be afraid to tell people exactly what is it that motivates you, what are your top values. And this is a lot of it in regards to covering that team and business development is about meetings and events and empowerment and mentorship. Mentors are so important. I'm so very grateful for mine. Learning and development, so finding the time to hone your skills, even if it's just 20-30 minutes once a week. Having the training and all sorts of learning still in place, because it does change the way that your business is running. It does change the way that you operate. You have a very different, unique selling point because nobody has the same skills that you do and nobody has the same experience you do. So definitely looking into those areas. The next step would be planning. So looking into the previous areas, definitely doing that. If there's anything else you want to try out, please do. And then we move on to planning. So is there anyone that you would hire? What is your strategy? What is your exit strategy? That is one of the biggest parts in regards to future planning. And also when you're looking at skills and experience, is there anyone else that you can speak to in regards to your planning? If you're not entirely sure how to get something done, who can you ask? And in regards to your clients, a lot of it is about quality customer service. I recently had this really good question from a branding expert, a friend of mine, who asked me, what's the impact of what you do or what you provide as a service to your clients' clients? Because not many people think of that. We all focus on our USPs and benefits that we provide to our clients, but what about their clients? If does working with us, how does it impact their clients? What does it give them? Because that's another selling point for us. And it's much better understanding of our business for potential collaborators and clients. It does help in regards to planning. You are at least partially prepared for surprising crises like a recession or COVID, which now became something that you can definitely expect to happen in future. Maybe it won't happen at all for the next 20 years. I saw it yesterday that there's no longer a prediction of a recession for this year, which is fantastic news, but still there's no guarantee. So you want to have something just in case in place. In regards to networking, we talk a lot about whether we do video, whether we do in person. So what is your strategy? How do you focus now? Do you do 100% of yours in person? Do you do 100% online? How does it divide for you? What works better? What works in regards to newsletter, follow up with your potential clients, maintaining your lists, promotions? How do you take care of your CRM? Do you have a CRM? And next, on top of all of that, we talked a lot about systems. On top of all of that, there's marketing systems. So then there's your social media and your websites and your branding and your reviews and your feedback. So all of these things, make sure that marketing is still not the main activity that you do, because a lot of people forget that marketing has to be balanced out by sales. So you actually have to have those sales activities in there, not just the marketing activities in there. So it's great that you take care of your list and you do outreach and everything. But if you don't do any networking or any calls, it's not exactly balanced. So definitely worth looking at people that you can still ask for reviews and feedback, recommendations, prompt people on a regular basis to ask for recommendations. It's definitely worth it. And in regards to sales, you have your sales funnels. Marketing will then go into that. And what else can you actually delegate, both in marketing and in sales and in general in your business? Just think of 2-3 things, even if you can't do it at the moment, at least think of 2-3 things that you could delegate in future. In regards to training, this is where another area where it really is worth the investment of time or money or both to actually get your sales skills improved, business development skills, partnerships and connections. This is where it's again worth having a mentor, worth having a coach, worth having a network that you can speak to whenever you would like a little bit of advice or guidance. We then move on to operations. In operations, you have a log. It depends what kind of business you're running. And of course, please feel free to ignore some of these points if it doesn't apply to you. But in regards to your operations, the most important part is going to be your systems and processes. Do you write it down? Do you write any of it down? Do you have a written process? If someone comes in to help you, do they know what to do? Is there a step-by-step something to follow? Or even for yourself, if it's not something that you do every day, for example, let's say video editing or something else regarding your marketing or your sales. If it's something you're not doing for a couple of weeks or a couple of months at a time, do you then have to relearn all the steps? Do you have to try and remind yourself of how you did that before? Because you don't have anything written down. If you make yourself a couple of bullet points, it will take you 2 minutes as you're doing it, but at least a couple months down the line, you know exactly what to do. There's a lot of time saved in regards to recording your processes. And in regards to systems, there is so many different options of how you can always upgrade, update, and start using something new, because the previous system is either not time efficient or it is becoming too expensive. There's a lot of these little things we pay for every month, and they keep going up in price. And it's annoying because you started depending on them. And the moment you depend on them too much, that is definitely the moment you want to look into a new system or a new tool that you can use for a certain thing. I came across a gentleman today that has enlightened me that I don't have to pay for my calendar anymore because they're becoming more and more expensive. And I want to have 2 or 3 different types of meetings, for example, this one and my one-to-ones and something else. And he enlightened me to a completely different platform that is free. So now I'm going to be switching to that because it's much easier. And everything's already in place. It's a copy and paste job. So definitely worth having a look at what you're using at the moment, how much time you could save if you write down yourself a couple of steps, or if you're open to trying something new because it's becoming either too much of a hassle or too expensive, or it is basically just outdated and it doesn't work for you as well as it used to. Now, the last part I would say is what we already touched on. So we touched on exit strategy. We touched on unforeseen circumstances, plan for events that may happen, may not. And those are very much around contingencies and resilience, building resilience of your business. And looking at if you depend on suppliers in any way, do you have a backup supplier? Do you have a backup system you can use for something? A lot of people don't think about this, but what happens if your email stops working? What happens if the basic things that you rely on, what if they don't work? Who do you call? Who do you have as a backup? What do you have as a backup in regards to your equipment, right? So do you have a second laptop or PC or monitor or camera, if that's what you mainly do from home? If you actually go out, what happens when your car breaks down? What is the process for you to continue to provide your services? What if you can't get the train? What if you can't get to wherever you're going? What is the process that you're going to follow? And longer term, what is your exit strategy? Do you want to sell your business? Do you want to continue working in your business and then just close it? Do you want to introduce someone else into your business at some point? Do you want to open a franchise? So many different options, definitely things to consider and things to plan for. It doesn't have to take long. So yes, exactly. Another thing you can really do one thing at a time. It doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't have to feel overwhelming. It can be something that you can plan into your week. I'm a very big believer of calendars are so very useful, and it doesn't run my life, but it offloads my brain so much. I have a little reminder every Monday morning that tells me exactly what am I doing for the next 12 weeks? What am I focusing on each week? And I have these little reminders throughout the week that are going to help me make sure I didn't forget anything. Right, so in regards to the little reminder that I have in my calendar, it was very helpful. I went to a training a couple of times, a couple of years back, because I have the time. My clients don't have the time. I have the time to go to training and then basically pull out the things that were the most useful and give it to them. And this was one of the really useful things, where we sit down, we look at the whole quarter, we divide it into 12 weeks, and the really big tasks that we need to do that feel very overwhelming, those are the ones that we're going to break down into the 12 weeks. Make a note, leave it somewhere, easy to update. So whenever you get something done or something new comes along, you just update the note. So if you can do something like this, if that doesn't work for you, if you prefer to do 30 days once a year, please remember, we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 5. So as much as it looks sometimes like a really big job, if it's broken down, it's so much easier. And you do want to have another job to go to and another task to move forward to. Because if you don't, at some point your brain rests, and we all need to exercise our brains and make sure that they're in their top shape and all the time busy and have things to do. So you definitely put some emotional impact behind the tasks that you need to do, and do have a chat with me whenever you'd like. And thank you so much for your time and for being here and doing these elements with me.